These are the 5 absolute best designs from the LEGO Ideas program, in my opinion, that were never produced and are honestly some of the biggest misses by LEGO. Now, the Disney classics were a staple for me as a kid, but one of my favorite Disney movies of all time has to be the 2007 release of Ratatouille. I mean, who doesn't love a good story about a rat making amazing French cuisine? So when the Brick Project came out with the initial design of Ratatouille opened the doors in 2019, I was blown away. The initial design was an incredible remake of Gusteau's restaurant from the movie and had incredible detailing and colors making up the exterior of the restaurant. There was a small area for the back of the restaurant, but the build was largely focused on this large French kitchen. You did have this very small dining area up front here, but as you moved into the back, you're met with the beautiful large kitchen from the movie, complete with center stove area, food prep sections, amazing checkered floors, and a beautiful glass roof. There was even this small Easter egg with this mini rat restaurant scene referring to the end of the movie. And of course, one of the biggest draws to this becoming a real set was the minifigures with the main characters Linguini, Colette, Skinner, Anton Ego, and of course, Remy. Not quite a minifigure, but close enough. He does make a pretty mean dish. But although this design was extremely popular and shot up to 10,000 supporters, LEGO rejected the design in the review stage. So the Brick Project came back again in 2020 with a fresh take on Gusteau's restaurant with Reopen the Doors. This time they came back with a plan to fully redesign the build, reduce the piece count from the original 3,000 pieces, and to find a way to bring more of the dining room into the restaurant itself. The front and exterior of the building was refined even more with this big Gusteau sign and a nice fountain right outside the main doors. The interior brought some of the same as the initial design, but expanded the dining room and shrunk the kitchen a little bit. You still had some of the same details for the kitchen in the food prep areas, etc., but the footprint of the actual kitchen itself was minimized. What was lost in the kitchen, though, was made up in a big way in the dining area. The dining area had this luxurious red interior with several dining tables, some croissants for accents, fine dining ware, lots of windows. Just a work of art, honestly. Although the first design of Gusteau's restaurant was amazing, this definitely was a big step up, in my opinion, from the initial design. This again shot up to 10,000 supporters and was again shot down by the LEGO Ideas team. But not so fast. The Brick Project was not going to be deterred. They went back to the drawing board, and in 2022 came out with another completely reimagined Ratatouille, Let's Open the Doors. And this third version was a masterpiece. This was a more complete version of the building from the movie with tons of references and details. Multiple floors were added to the front of the building with a beautiful green slate roof. On the bottom floor, we still got the restaurant and the kitchen with all the amazing detail. We had a more closed-in area for the backyard of the restaurant, along with this nice red moped over here, which you might recognize. And you could even recreate Linguini and Colette's first kiss if you wanted. The second floor had a much more detailed version of the rat restaurant from the first submission up here above the main restaurant floor. And then lastly, you had the addition of Linguini's apartment up on the third level. Every detail of the set was amazing in my mind, and if you were a lover of the movie, this was the set to have in the collection. For the third time, this set rose to 10,000 supporters. Surely, this is the time LEGO would approve the set. Wrong. LEGO denied the set for a third and last time. There was never a good reason as to why, but this was a massive miss in my opinion on the part of the LEGO Ideas team. If you're a movie lover though and enjoyed Ratatouille, then you probably heard of the old classic Karate Kid. Released back in the summer of 1984, the movie grossed over $130 million from its original budget of $8 million and went on to become one of the highest grossing movies of the year. The film has remained an iconic movie throughout the year, and in 2020, Delusion Brick brought the incredible LEGO Ideas submission of the Karate Kid Wax On, Wax Off. This amazing recreation of Mr. Miyagi's house, which included the front yard, house, and backyard, was packed full of details from the movie. The front yard in the build is where Mr. Miyagi keeps his car collection, his fishing boat, and there's also this nice water tower over here in the corner. I also really like the included brick-built power posts over here on the left of the build. The backyard is a beautiful Asian-themed garden with lots of plants, a small stream, and this cool fence made out of the snowboard element, which I thought was fun. The backyard is also a great place for Daniel to practice paint the fence and sand the floor. Lastly, the centerpiece on this build is the house. You have this really nice clay tile roof, which does lift off. The interior has 3 rooms, the dojo, the kitchen/bedroom, and then the dining area. You have chopsticks over here on the table for Mr. Miyagi to catch that fly. You have these nice sliding doors, and then just really all kinds of beautiful Japanese accents. With the popularity of the movie, coupled with this amazing build of Mr. Miyagi's house, the submission quickly jumped to 10,000 supporters. Unfortunately, the idea was not chosen, obviously. But even though the Karate Kid submission died, it probably isn't quite as bad as what this wave looks like it's about to do to this ship in our next missed submission, Land Ahoy. Land Ahoy was an extremely unique design and was created and submitted to LEGO Ideas in 2021 by Ralph Ranghall. This amazing design consisted of this map-like scene and beautiful Caribbean-colored water, an abandoned island in the water, and a small brick-built ship. The map lays flat, giving this entire scene of a boat spotting land out in the middle of the Caribbean. But the most unique part is the ability of the set to fold up into this curved, amazing display piece. The colors, along with this unique design, shot the submission all the way to the needed 10,000 supporters without any problem. But of course, as you probably already know where this is going, the build was left out at sea. Coming back into dry land, though, and back into another movie franchise with this banger of a set, Night at the Museum. In 2006, we got the release of the movie Night at the Museum that is filled with great characters, lots of humor, and an ancient curse that brings the museum to life. Carlierti, who is tied to the Brick Project from the earlier Ratatouille submission, was the designer of this amazing rendition of the museum from the movie. The building itself looks incredible with its large stone exterior along with this large statue right at the center before entering the doors to the museum. There was also these large exterior banners just like you would see at a normal museum. Upon entering the museum, you are met with this large dinosaur skeleton, which I think could look a little bit better, but the globe right behind it looked really good. There are also multiple sections to the build that can come apart, and this will give you access as well to the back of the museum. Back here, you're going to find several glass window displays as well as the spooky Tomb of the Pharaoh. This design was just beautiful and was asking for a licensing deal so it could hit the LEGO store shelves. It hit the 10,000 votes needed, and then nothing. That was it. The Nightmare Before Christmas, which we just saw images of, and the red telephone box were the ones picked. It wasn't over yet, though. Carlierti brought the new and improved version back to us in 2022. I have to give it to these guys. They just don't quit. Night at the Museum reopened the doors was now here. We still got many of the same minifigures with Larry, Dr. McPhee, Theodore Roosevelt, Attila the Hun, and several more, but the museum itself went through a full renovation. This time we had the full stone front, but we also had 2 swinging back stairwells. This enclosed the museum a little bit better, but left out some of the awesome details that we had in the first version, like the back area of the museum. Many of the museum pieces were still included and some of the different artwork on the walls, but the build itself felt a little bit more cramped than the first version. Nonetheless, people loved it. 10,000 votes were not hard to come by, and yet LEGO missed it again. So that brings me to the last one on my list with this cunning Gallic warrior, Asterix. I grew up reading the comics of Asterix and Obelix, so when Ganpat the Celt revealed his submission of Asterix the Gaul in 2020, I had to have it. The set was full of all the iconic figures from the comics in minifigure form. The main build was this stone house of Asterix, which had this nice open back for easy access. There was also several smaller builds to create a more complete storyline with this waterfall and bridge, a hay cart, tree, and much more. I can't say I thought the build was perfect, but it did look really good, and the concept was for sure there. I could have done without some of the smaller builds. Just one larger build of just like the Asterix stone house with the workshop and maybe a large cauldron would have been a really cool set in my mind. 10,000 votes? Sure. Real LEGO set? Nope. I'm just going to be honest with myself at this point. I'm never going to get a LEGO set that I actually vote for to go through and become a real set.